A sincere welcome to all who are on a profound inner journey, not just hearing but absorbing with your entire being. There is a phase in every personal evolution where accumulating more information ceases to be the answer. Another podcast, another workshop, another spiritual guide no longer fills that deep internal space. You start to sense that the clarity you seek isn't located outside yourself. It's resting in the stillness behind your thoughts, waiting for you to quiet down, to let go of justifying your position, and to simply be. But there is a hidden principle here, one you might have brushed against without recognizing its significance. When you unearth something truly life-altering about your own nature, when you contact a piece of wisdom that reframes your reality, a powerful compulsion arises to announce it, to share it widely, to make it known. This is a very human reaction. It's your mind attempting to certify its newfound awareness. Yet, the old traditions teach an opposing discipline: guard your tongue. This is not because the insight is embarrassing or needs to be kept secret, but because some realizations, if spoken of too quickly, have their vital energy dissipate. Some truths are like embers. You don't take them out of the fire right as they catch a flame just to show everyone. You give them oxygen. You shelter them from the storm. You allow them the space to become a sustainable fire. The part they don't teach you is that speaking prematurely is an act of the ego. We articulate our insights because we crave acknowledgement. We want applause for the truth we've found. But real wisdom is not cultivated in the soil of external approval. It grows in silence, in application, in living by your new understanding, not merely speaking of it. There is an ache that comes with awakening, for you will start to perceive things that remain invisible to others. You will carry yourself in a new way. Your focus will drift from the objects it once deemed valuable. You will grow weary of trivial chatter. You will find that environments you once longed to belong to now feel foreign. And within this transformation, a form of isolation will appear, a solitude that cries out for explanation, that tempts you to justify your shift, to prove to others that your vision has indeed sharpened. Yet silence is the ultimate mentor, because in stillness you cease trying to persuade anyone. You are busy embodying the reality you discovered. The power of your metamorphosis is not measured by the number of people you inform. It is measured by the depth of its integration into you. Guard your tongue, not because the audience is unworthy, but because that which is sacred deserves protection. A time will come when you observe the world and see how recklessly language is spent, how frequently we surrender our own power by detailing what we ought to be embodying. You will grasp that not every person is entitled to your inner landscape, not due to any malice on their part, but because their journey hasn't prepared them for it. Some individuals are still navigating roads you've long since left. And should you hand them a blueprint for your mountain, they will likely dismiss your entire ascent. They have not yet earned that elevation, and it is not your mission to drag them up with your explanations. Your purpose here is not to persuade, it is to evolve, and authentic evolution is nearly always silent. It occurs in those quiet junctures when you select discipline over impulse, when you turn from drama instead of engaging with it, when you stay with your own discomfort rather than escaping it. These are the choices that build an unshakable core, not the times when you are speaking, but the times when you are acting. So, the next time you feel an inner click, when a realization is dawning, when a deep truth is pushing to be spoken, take a moment. Inquire within, is this for everyone to hear now, or is this for me to embody first? More often than not, it's the second option. You owe your own self the profound gift of integration. Let your new insight change you before you ask it to change the world. Because once it is real, once it is a genuine component of your character, you will have no need to describe it. Your very presence will communicate it for you. Your aura, your deeds, your quiet composure, they will resonate with more force than words ever could. This is how you build true authority. This is how you become centered. You stop broadcasting your own growth. You stop recounting your inner shift as a developing story and instead begin to live as though it is already your settled reality. Understand this principle, and once you grasp it, guard your tongue. A quiet universal law exists that few mention because it resists simple explanation. It has to be experienced. The law is this: when you voice wisdom too soon, it scatters, not because the wisdom itself is weak, but because your personal connection to it remains unsolidified. When you first encounter a major truth, the sensation is electric. It flashes through your consciousness like a bolt of lightning. In an instant, it all connects. The struggles, the sorrow, the disorientation, all of it finds its place in a grander design. And at that point, the drive to broadcast it feels immense. But here lies the lesson so rarely taught: not everything is meant for immediate expression. Truth has the quality of fire. If your hands are not yet calloused enough to hold it, you will only harm yourself and those around you. An initial insight is never the complete transformation. It is the invitation to a more profound practice. Discussing your breakthrough prematurely is akin to pouring precious liquid into a fractured vessel. It seeps out, it gets wasted. Understand that your words have an energetic charge, but they also have a consequence. To speak of things you have not yet fully embodied is to draw a map to a land you have only glimpsed. The coordinates will be flawed, the scale will be inaccurate, and anyone attempting to use that map will be led astray. The discipline of staying silent after a realization is not a form of self-deprivation, it is an act of preservation. Preservation for you, allowing your mind and body the time to sync with what your soul now comprehends. Preservation for the insight itself, so it can establish deeper roots in your conduct, your patterns, your very essence. Because until your everyday actions are a mirror of your epiphany, it's not yet real. It remains a concept, and concepts are fragile things. They are shaped not just by our inner awareness, but also by the world's reaction when we voice them. When you offer a potent realization to someone unprepared for it, you are not being generous. It might feel that way, but you are in fact putting your own inner development at risk. You are offering something invaluable to someone who cannot sense its true gravity. They will question it, ridicule it, or wave it away, and if you are not yet grounded, their dismissal could make you question your own clarity, potentially unraveling what was a moment of absolute certainty. In this manner, the ego cloaks itself in the guise of magnanimity. I have a duty to share this insight, it proclaims. But the truly wise do not hurry to instruct, they let their existence become the teaching first. Genuine mastery never needs to be announced. A tree does not shout when it produces fruit, it just stands, growing gradually, quietly, and with undeniable strength. Those who are meant to enjoy its fruit will find their way to it. In the same manner, your inner development will become apparent over time through your bearing, your composure under strain, and how you interact with others without seeking their validation. And this presence will articulate more than any dissertation ever could. It is vital to recognize that some people rely on your uncertainty to reinforce their own stasis. If you declare your new awareness to those who are determined to remain unchanged, they will attempt to drag you back, not from a place of malice, but from a place of fear. Your progress is a mirror to their own stagnation. Your certainty highlights their own confusion. Thus, they will challenge you, not because you are incorrect, but because they are terrified you might be correct. And if your roots are not yet deep, you will be shaken. This is why silence must precede speech, not indefinitely, but for long enough to allow your truth to cure into strength. Speak only when your words no longer hunt for consensus. Share only when your conviction is impervious to rejection. That is the point at which you are no longer trying to persuade, you are simply stating what already exists. There is yet another dimension. By refraining from speaking about your insights, you give them space to work on you internally. They start to mold your conduct in subtle ways, your morning routine, your way of listening, your ability to detach from what is no longer beneficial. These are the markers of a genuine shift. They are quiet, they avoid the spotlight, but they are irrefutable. Those close to you will feel it. Even without a label, they will perceive a change, a new weight, a solid presence. That is the energy signature of someone who has found something potent and held it long enough to become it. So, the next time you comprehend something life-changing, resist the impulse to articulate it. Allow your stillness to contain it. Allow your quietude to cultivate it. Allow your deeds to be its reflection, and in due course, when that seed has matured into a great tree, you will see that you don't have to talk at all. Individuals will approach you not for your proclamations, but for your way of living, and on the occasion you do speak, they will listen, not because you are insistent, but because your silence has piqued their curiosity. That is authentic power. That is understanding both the secret and the wisdom of when to say nothing at all. There is a difficult yet essential reality of existence that few are willing to face. Not every person is equipped for your discovery. Not every individual possesses the vision to see what you now perceive. And not every soul has the capacity to hold the wisdom that has been shown to yours. When a deep understanding graces you, it feels like an honor, but the common error is to think others will accept it as such. They will not, particularly if they are not searching for it, and especially if they remain comfortable in the paradigm that this new wisdom helped you transcend. The very essence of truth is that it is disruptive. It shatters comforting falsehoods and illuminates areas that many would rather keep in shadow. It calls for transformation, but transformation is unsettling. So, when you offer truth to the unready, it will not be embraced. It will be resisted, pushed away, and sometimes even vilified. Picture yourself entering a space where everyone has been asleep for decades. Their vision is adjusted to the dim light. Their peace depends on the lack of disturbance. Then you, with wide open eyes and newly awakened, suddenly appear with a brilliant torch. You think you are providing a service. You are convinced you're sharing your hard-won light. But to them, you are an intruder, not because your light is false, but because it destabilizes the reality they've constructed around their own unawareness. In life, correct timing is paramount. A truth shared at the wrong moment can be worse than a falsehood. This is why wisdom necessitates patience. When you grasp something profound, something truly life-altering, your task is not to race out and proselytize. Your task is to internalize it, to live by it. Let your life stand as the testament to your learning, because if an individual is not independently seeking understanding, your words will only register as background noise or, even worse, as condemnation. This becomes especially trying when those you care for are the ones still dormant. You desperately want them to awaken. You wish for them to evolve. You desire for them to perceive what you now perceive. But personal change cannot be imposed, it must be elected. The path must be walked, not gifted. A butterfly cannot aid a caterpillar in its metamorphosis. It can only set an example by flying. Sharing profound insights with unreceptive people is like sowing seeds on pavement. Regardless of the seed's potential, it is unable to sprout where there is no earth. And if you persist in forcing the issue, you will deplete your own energy and be left feeling dismissed, unheard, and possibly even betrayed. The sting you feel is not a sign that the truth was invalid. It is a sign that you misread the receptivity of the person before you. There's also the subtle hubris in thinking it's your duty to awaken the world. It is not. The awakening process is intensely personal. Regardless of your eloquence, regardless of your insight's veracity, it will not find a home where there is no receptivity. You may have the urge to grab people and tell them how much better their existence could be, but until they are prepared to listen not just with their minds, but with their souls, your words will land without effect, or worse, they will be distorted, mocked, and used against you. This is why silence is wisdom's greatest partner. When you choose silence, you are not forsaking the truth, you are venerating it. You are communicating, this is precious. This is not for amusement. This is not for idle talk. This is a powerful instrument, and I will not entrust it to someone who still wishes to remain behind a locked door. Let your example be the signal. Let your way of life foster their curiosity. Let your inner calm disrupt their inner turmoil, not through lectures but through your very state of being. People do not follow declarations, they follow resonance. If you truly comprehend something powerful, it will alter your posture, your decisions, your values. Others will take note. They might not comment at first, but when the moment is right, when their own readiness emerges, they will inquire. And when someone inquires from a position of sincere curiosity, then and only then is the way open. This is the mechanism by which transformation spreads, not by coercion but by vibration. You live your truth so completely, so quietly that it becomes radiant. It becomes a gravitational pull. Those who are destined to rise will feel it, and they will approach not to quarrel, not to contest, but to understand. Until that time, keep your treasure secure. Hold it in the silent chambers of your heart. Let it mature within you long before you ever mention it. The world may not be prepared, but you must be, because if you attempt to convince others before your own foundation is solid, you risk being dragged back into the very consciousness you worked so hard to escape. And that is the unspoken peril of sharing too soon. Your truth might be authentic, but if it is still nascent, the wrong conditions can destroy it. So hold it dear. Let your stillness be the bedrock of your strength, and trust that when they are ready, they will finally hear you. Until then, walk your path in peace. There exists a crucial distinction between strength and power. Strength is having the capacity to act, power is having the wisdom to refrain. This is a concept many who seek mastery overlook. They assume power is showcased through volume, through assertion, or through overt control. But true power, the kind that can redefine a life and shift a destiny, is silent. It is self-possessed. It does not beg for notice. It makes no grand entrance. It has no need to, because its own nature is already known to itself. When you encounter a person who has journeyed through suffering, stared down their own demons, wrestled with their flaws, and come out the other side wiser, you will sense something nuanced yet definite about them. They have no urgency to prove a point. They are better listeners than speakers. Their presence has substance, not because they posture for it, but because they have earned it through inner work. That quality is restraint, and restraint is the signature of one who possesses power and has chosen to command it. We inhabit a culture where everyone is desperate to be noticed, acknowledged, and validated. Our media, our discussions, even our closest bonds have turned into arenas for public display. Everyone is talking, yet almost no one is truly hearing. Everyone is broadcasting, but very little of it originates from a place of genuine depth. It is mostly static, and in the middle of this static, those who wield real influence are the quiet ones. Those who grasp that some understandings are too profound for common chatter, that wisdom is not a prize for exhibition but a flame that must be carefully tended. You see, restraint is not a synonym for weakness. It is not inaction. It is the disciplined capacity to resist the primitive impulse to react, to retort, to fix, to assert dominance. It is the ability to sit quietly while being baited. It is the choice to allow another person to be mistaken without needing to set them straight simply to gratify your own ego. That is not meekness, it is profound clarity. Because the instant you feel a compulsion to justify yourself, you have ceded your own worth into another's judgment. And that is not power, it is vulnerability disguised as bravado. There is a spiritual discipline in holding your understanding within, in not requiring external agreement for it to be real. Some things are designed to be lived, not just spoken. When you understand something deeply transformative about your own nature, about existence, or about the workings of the universe, your first reflex might be to share it with everyone. But wisdom is not a spectacle, it is a dedicated practice. It must first be fully assimilated, integrated into your being, and made tangible through your conduct. Consider a master of martial arts. The most formidable practitioners are not those who brag about their prowess, they are the ones who appear serene, composed, almost ordinary. Why? Because they have no need to demonstrate their knowledge, it is an inseparable part of them. Their composure is not feigned, it is inherent. It is the fruit of immense discipline, endless repetition, and the humility learned from both failure and success. They have learned that true power lies not in what you display, but in what you consciously withhold. This exact principle governs inner wisdom. The more intimately you know yourself, the less you need others to know you. The more profound your insight, the weaker the impulse to engage in debate. You release the need to win arguments. You stop soliciting approval. You permit others to misread you, to dismiss you, and even to mock you, because you have understood that your truth does not hinge on their acceptance. That is true power, silent, anchored, and absolute. But restraint does more than just shield your power, it owns it. Each time you withhold your words when it would be easier to speak, each time you opt for presence over performance, you are conditioning your inner self. You grow more aligned, more targeted, more impactful. Instead of dissipating your energy outward in an effort to persuade, you direct it inward to refine your own being. And with every act of restraint, your perception sharpens. You start to see with piercing clarity who is deserving of your energy and who is not, who is prepared and who is not, what is authentic and what is illusion. This lucidity becomes your guide. It directs your actions, not your fleeting feelings. Because you are no longer in a state of reaction, you are responding from a place of intention. This is the nexus of transformation, when your life ceases to be a reflex to the external world and becomes a deliberate articulation of your own core truth. In ancient wisdom traditions, restraint has always been a signifier of inner maturity. It indicated that you had arrived at a state where your tranquility was non-negotiable, where you no longer permitted external events or other people to disturb your core. And the most formidable aspect of that state is this: others perceive it. They may not have a name for it, they might even find it unsettling, but they feel it. And over time, they start to interact with you differently, not because you commanded their respect, but because your quiet composure made them curious, making them wonder what it is you possess that they lack. And when they finally ask, you'll sense their readiness. You will have no need to convince them. You will simply express, and your words will find their mark because you waited, because you valued the truth enough to shield it, and because you did not squander your influence by attempting to show it before its season. That is what it means to carry yourself with quiet authority. That is what it means to grasp the secret and to guard your tongue. There arrives a moment in any path of growth where the most potent move you can make is to say nothing at all. Not from a lack of things to say, but from the deep understanding that silence itself is a form of communication. And when wielded with wisdom, it communicates more powerfully than any rebuttal, any rationale, or any justification. Silence is not the negation of power, it is the embodiment of mastery. In the nascent phases of our awakening, the urge to justify ourselves is strong. We want to broadcast every new lesson, every feeling, every epiphany. Like a vessel filled to the brim, we feel we must pour ourselves out for others. But as we mature, we start to see that not everyone is listening with equal intent. Not all are prepared to take in what we have worked so long to comprehend. And critically, not every forum is worthy of our voice. That is when silence becomes an active choice, a decision born not of insecurity or compliance, but of lucidity and wisdom. In silence, you unearth your own hidden motivations. Are you speaking from a need for approval, from a desire to be correct, from an ego that longs for the spotlight? Or can you remain quiet to safeguard your own energy, to permit others their own views without it threatening your own peace? Silence forces you to appraise yourself with more honesty than speech ever could, because once you strip away the static of justification and rationalization, only your unvarnished truth remains, and to face that truth without the buffer of words is where genuine development occurs. An ancient discipline resides in stillness. The world scrambles, protests, reacts, shares, and acts out, but you do not. You observe, you sense, you comprehend, you learn to perceive the unsaid. You tune into not just the words being spoken, but also the intent behind them. You start to recognize patterns, facades, and motives that fly past most people. In silence, your acuity is honed. You become more attuned to energetic shifts, to subtle vocal inflections, to the pauses people leave in their sentences. This is not some accidental gift of intuition. It is awareness cultivated by design, and its foundation is silence. Consider the most skilled martial artists. Their power is not solely in their physical technique, but in their capacity to observe an adversary, to bide their time for the perfect moment of action. They are poised, centered, and silent, and when they do move, it is not from impulse but from complete readiness. The very same rule governs life. When you have perfected the art of silence, you no longer talk merely to occupy a void. You speak because you have something of value to contribute. And your decision to remain silent is a deliberate exercise of power, not an admission of weakness. In relationships, silence can be more restorative than conflict. At times, people do not require your solutions, they require your centered presence. At times, they do not need to hear your voice, they need to hear their own. When you cease cutting into their internal process with your opinions, you create the space for them to reflect, to process, to find their own answers. That form of silence is an offering of love, not of indifference. It demonstrates that you trust them to navigate their own journey, just as you navigated yours. And concerning your own suffering, silence can be a heaven. You have no need to publicize your struggles for them to be legitimate. You don't need a running commentary on your healing for it to be authentic. Often, the most profound healing unfolds in the quiet, when you can sit with yourself in stillness, free of distractions and external judgments, and grant yourself permission to simply exist, to feel, and to accept. That is the crucible of transformation. In silence, the shattered parts of you begin to mend, not through force, but because you gave them the space to realign. Silence also safeguards your aspirations. The more you verbalize your dreams, your ambitions, and your objectives, the more you leave them vulnerable to skepticism, jealousy, and external meddling. There is immense power in moving discreetly, in constructing without fanfare, in evolving without explanation. Allow your accomplishments to be the statement. Allow your serenity to be the evidence. When you hold your intentions as sacred, they become stronger, they grow deep roots. They are nourished no longer by applause, but by their intrinsic purpose. And finally, silence nurtures patience. The world will inevitably try to bait you. People will challenge you. Life will present obstacles that appear to cry out for a response. But in silence, you learn to pause, to see, to act from a place of strength rather than from emotion. This does not mean you are forever mute. It means you speak with deliberation, with clarity, and with consequence. Your words, when they finally emerge, carry weight because they have been forged in silence. This is the great secret that so many fail to see. They believe power must be loud, that wisdom requires lengthy explanation, that truth has to be screamed to be real. But those who have truly come to know understand otherwise. They know that silence is not a void, it is full. It contains your strength, your substance, your insight. It is your boundary, your meditation, your proclamation, and your shield. So when you learn something with profound certainty, not just with your intellect, but with your spirit, your heart, and your actions, fight the desire to proclaim it to the world. Instead, let it inhabit you. Let it direct your behavior. Let it transform your habits, because the world does not need more static. It needs more individuals with the fortitude to be silent until their moment arrives. And when it does, they will speak not to be seen, but to illuminate. Until that time, allow silence to be your guide. The road to wisdom is not constructed with words, it is etched in silence, tempered through restraint, and traveled in solitude. Once you have truly internalized this, once you have experienced the transformative power that stillness holds, you lose the compulsion to convince the world of who you have become. You cease your pursuit of the external approval that once held such sway. You disengage from conflicts your soul has already moved beyond. You just are. And this state of being is cultivated in quiet intervals, when nobody is looking, in the pre-dawn moments when the planet is still and you are with your own breath, in the late hours when you review the choices of your day not for self-flagellation but to refine your internal compass. It grows in your stillness, in your forbearance, in how you opt to respond rather than react. It solidifies in the words you choose not to utter, the accomplishments you do not need to advertise, and the pain you do not need to narrate. There is a deep, Unshakable power in the person who no longer requires to be loud. This sort of power is indisputable. It is anchored. It does not swing with praise or censure. Its existence is not conditional on being witnessed or comprehended. It simply is, like a great peak unmoved by a tempest, like a candle flame that remains steady in a gale. The one who holds a deep truth and elects silence is not denying others. They are protecting the sanctity of what has been earned, because that is what truth represents. It is earned through direct experience, through hardship, through missteps, through difficult choices, and through silent resolve. And the more profound the truth, the less inclined you are to share it casually, not because you conceal it, but because you honor it. You grasp its gravity. You grasp that wisdom is not for mere exhibition. It is for genuine transformation. And before it can alter others, it must first completely alter you. So you carry it inside yourself. You let it temper your reactivity. You let it sharpen your discernment. You let it quiet the voice of your ego, and you allow it to direct you like an unwavering compass, even across the most forbidding landscapes. You no longer search externally for validation, because you have learned how to heed the quiet within. And within that quiet, there is not only clarity but also a deep peace. The sort of peace that does not arise from perfect circumstances, but from you no longer needing to manage everything that goes wrong. The kind of peace that holds firm even when you are misunderstood, questioned, or confronted. You do not enter the fray to prove a point, because your energy is now precious, your time is precious, and your internal state is no longer open for debate. You do not give it away for trivial reasons. That is when your life begins to change, not because the outer world is different but because you are. And your internal shift, though understated, becomes irrefutable. You move with a new bearing. You speak with a new resonance. You make choices from a place of solid intention, not anxious need. You invest your energy with care, and you fiercely defend your silence. You do not permit noise to enter your core. You do not let confusion dictate your course. You have become still, and from that stillness, you are formidable. People will sense this long before they can articulate it. They might not understand what draws them to your presence, why your few words land with such substance, or why your calmness provides them with a sense of security. Because you have done the one thing most will not. You have journeyed inward. You have dwelled in silence long enough to learn that not everything needs to be verbalized, that not every truth requires an audience. Some things are for you alone. So when the world attempts to lure you back into its drama, when it dangles applause, arguments, or the promise of fame, remember your purpose. You are not here to make a spectacle. You are here to be clear, to be grounded, to be real. And at times the most real thing you can possibly do is say nothing whatsoever. Let your very life be the testament to your knowledge. Let your deeds echo the insights you have absorbed. Let your silence instruct more loudly than your voice ever could. That is how you gain respect without demanding it. That is how you create influence without coercion. That is how you shield your power and continue to evolve without interference. Because once you've grasped the secret, once you've tasted the kind of lucidity that cannot be purchased, shattered, or taken, you will finally see why you must defend it. Not from the world, but for yourself, so it can continue to guide you, so it can continue to refine you, and so it can continue its silent, profound work deep within you. In a society fixated on speaking, choose the discipline of hearing. In a culture hooked on stimulus, choose the courage of stillness. And in a world frantic to be recognized, choose the quiet way of becoming so powerful they sense you even when you say nothing. That is when you'll understand the secret was never for shouting, it was for living, quietly and completely.